Okay, penalties for political ethics violations vary widely based on jurisdiction, the severity of the offense, and whether the violation or is administrative or criminal. Punishments can range from administrative reprimands and fines to criminal charges that may lead to imprisonment. Federal ethics violations, multiple agencies and status govern ethics violations for U.S. federal officials, and a breach can trigger criminal, civil, and administrative penalties. Criminal penalties, certain ethics violations such as bribery can lead to criminal charges with fines and imprisonment. An Army lieutenant colonel, for example, received a 3-year prison sentence for accepting bribes from contractors. Civil penalties under the Ethics in Government Act, the Attorney General can file civil action against an individual who commits certain ethics violations. Penalties can include up to fines up to $50,000 per violation, the amount of compensation received from prohibited conduct, whichever is greater. Administrative penalties, the Office of Government Ethics reported over 1,000 administrative actions in 2019 for the executive branch employees. These penalties can include reprimands, a suspension or termination of employment, mandatory ethics training, forfeiture of retirement benefits, cool, resignation from an outside position that causes a conflict of interest, congressional ethics violations. Congress has its own set of rules for enforcement procedures for its members. Expulsion. The most severe punishment is expulsion, which requires a 2/3 vote in either the House or Senate. It is the most serious sanction the House can impose. Censure. A public formal reprimand that is voted on by the full chambers, less severe than expulsion but more serious than a reprimand. Reprimand, a public formal admonishment that is less severe than censure, does not require the member to stand in the wall of the House. Fines and sanctions. Other political penalties include fines and denial of limitation of a member's right or privileges. State and local ethics violations. Penalties for state and local political ethics violations vary greatly by jurisdiction. Such a state has its own statutes for enforcement bodies. Administrative fines. Many state and local ethics commissions can levy civil penalties. For example, DuPage County, Illinois, lists fines of up to $5,000 per violation. Criminal charges. Violations can lead to misdemeanor or felony charges with penalties ranging from smaller fines and limited to jail time and significant fines and multi-year prison sentences. Removal or disqualification from office. State laws often include provisions of forfeiture of public office. In Illinois, a public officer who violates conflict of interest statutes is removed from office. Professional discipline for officials or also attorneys. Ethics violations may result in disciplinary action from bar authorities, such as suspension or loss of the right to practice law. Common ethical violations and specific penalties depend on the type of violations. Common ethical breaches include bribery and corruption, illegal payments or gifts in exchange for favorable treatment, nepotism or cronyism, giving preferential treatment to family and friends in hiring or appointments, misuse of confidential information, using non-public information gained through an official position for personal gain, conflicts of interest, participating in official matters where the official has a personal financial interest, improper political activity. Federal employees are subject to the Hatch Act, which limits their political activities. Somebody asked a question. There they're saying something about politics and politicians and what they're arguing over. And I'm apolitical. I don't take a side. When they're both taking money from Wall Street, there's only one side I can take. Is with we the people. All politicians are legally required to do what's in the public interest. It's a legal mandate, and they aren't doing that. They're doing what's in the best interest of the rich, which is contrary to the rule of law, contrary to the oath. So many things they don't do that they should, so many things they shouldn't do, but they do. It's not that complicated. All right, but I mentioned what she was speaking of were the politicians she was talking about. You're talking about ethics. They have ethics, you know. And I kind of try to explain that it's a legal requirement, ethics, you know. And as we well know, that's what a lot of politicians lack, ethics. And I'm just showing you where you can file for ethics violations. It can also lead to criminal charges, disbarment, and removal from the bench for lawyers and judges. And, you know, it's easy to get a lawyer or judge for ethics violations because they don't abide by the rules or the codes. Not all of them. But you can easily catch up if you felt like your lawyer didn't do the job or the judge didn't do their job. Go over the rules of professional conduct and code of judicial conduct, and that'll tell you exactly what their job is, and you can use that against them. Because remember, if anybody violates the rules or the codes, that's misconduct. Reporting misconduct is mandatory in the rules and the codes, and it doesn't matter if they're involved in the case or not. Any knowledge of any misconduct, any violations of the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct, it is mandatory to report that misconduct, just having the knowledge of, not having to had participated. No. Misconduct is mandatory to report. Failure to report misconduct is misconduct. The lawyers fail to report the judge, and the judge fails to report the lawyers, and the lawyers fail to report each other and the judge. It happens every day. It's a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. All right, thank you. Talk to you later. Just thought I'd answer a question about penalties for ethics violations in politics.